Hey everyone, I'm David.
And I'm Ro.
And we had a lot of misconceptions about full-time RVing before we hit the road 3 years ago. And we know that a lot of you watching are interested in becoming full-time RVers yourselves, or are at least curious about this lifestyle.
So we've compiled a list of 10 common misconceptions about full-time RVing.
The first and probably the biggest misconception about full-time RVing is that we're always on vacation. And unless you're fully retired, that's just not true. A lot of full-time RVers, especially those that are our age, still have to work while traveling to support themselves. And a lot of full-time RVers do that by working seasonal jobs as they travel around, remote jobs, or by work camping. Some days do certainly feel like we are on vacation, especially when we're near some of the more epic spots like the national parks. However, the majority of days we're just living like usual people and working.
A major misconception that I had before we hit the road was that it was going to be easy to take care of the inside of the RV, that it wasn't going to get dirty as fast as it actually does. And one of the main reasons is because a lot of the places that we stay, especially when we're in the desert, are sandy. Where we're at right now, even though we're in the middle of the forest, our campsite is dirt, and it's very fine dirt. And so not only do David and I track this dirt in all the time on our shoes, but so does this big log right here. Every time we let her out and bring her back inside, there is dirt. And so we are sweeping all the time. We're vacuuming the carpet out by our desks all the time. But one of the things that I thought was going to not happen was how easily cluttered it was going to get in here. We literally only have to have 1 or 2 things not put away, just sitting out on the counter, and it feels so cluttered in here because we have only 2 little countertop spots. And so whenever you leave something out, it feels more cluttered than it actually is. And compared to living in a big house, or when I lived in my apartment, I had a lot more countertop space, so if I left something out, it didn't feel cluttered. But again, we have 1 countertop in here.
Before we get to the rest though, I want to tell you about this video's sponsor, The Dirt. The Dirt is the best campsite finding website and smartphone app we've ever used. However you camp, in a tent, trailer, RV, or cabin, The Dirt makes finding accommodations easy, and with over 1 million listings, you're sure to find the perfect campsite. The Dirt website and app are free to use. However, they have an extremely affordable Pro membership available for only $3 per month. Pro has many indispensable features for travelers like us, such as offline access and downloadable maps so you can search for campsites anywhere, map overlays for BLM land, national forests, and national parks, so there's no question what land you're on, and a trip planner so you can see all the campgrounds and fuel stops along your route. A Pro membership will also get you up to 40% off at hundreds of campgrounds across the country and up to 30% off camping gear by many major brands. And if you use the link in the video description below and use promo code FATE, you can save 10% on the Dirt Pro. Unlock better camping with exclusive features and savings with the Dirt Pro. Another misconception is the financial aspect of full-time RVing, and I've heard it both ways. I've heard that full-time RVing is incredibly expensive because you have to spend a ton of money on the RV itself and a robust vehicle to tow it, or that motorhomes in general are extremely expensive, and then on top of that, you have to pay a ton of money for RV park fees, attraction fees, fuel, and then repairs onto your rig. And then on the flip side, I've heard people talk about how insanely cheap and inexpensive full-time RVing can be. You know, like if you are boondocking and free camping every time, you can, get rid of all the RV park fees, and if you buy an old used rig that you restore yourself, you can save a ton of money. And it's very interesting to hear people talk about how it can either be extremely expensive or extremely cheap, when the reality is that it can be anywhere. Full-time RVing, and really RVing in general, is as expensive as you make it. If you've got a big budget, you want all the luxuries, all the frills, then yes, RVing is going to be very expensive. However, our lifestyle, if you kind of model your full-time RVing experience after us, it's going to be very inexpensive and very cheap. We're sort of on the extremely inexpensive side, and I know that some people can even do it cheaper than us. So just know that when it comes to the financial aspects of full-time RVing, it can either be really cheap or really expensive or anywhere in the middle. It's all up to you.
The next misconception I want to talk about is that when we first hit the road, we thought that everybody we met that was also traveling was going to be happy and nice. And what we have found is that, yes, the majority of people that we've met on the road have been awesome. They've been super friendly, and you know, you instantly click with people because you share something in common. You enjoy traveling, you enjoy camping, you know, you instantly have that awesome connection. But it's always striking when we come across someone that is just mad. And it has happened a number of times, and we've only been on the road 3 years, and every single one of them I can remember very clearly, and I can tell you that it's gone from other people camping nearby to a camp host that you have to interact with. And if you're staying in RV parks all the time, then I can imagine how many more people you might come across that just aren't having a great time, and they're angry, and I don't know, it just makes me wonder, what are these people that are so angry doing out here still being angry? Don't you come out here to be happy? To camp and get away from it all and enjoy nature? But instead they're just crotchety, and it's odd. And I'm so glad that the majority of people we met have been really nice and kind. We've met so many of you, and you guys are all so awesome. So again, it's just weird when I come across someone that's so angry.
The next misconception about full-time RVing is that it is stress-free and easy. And unfortunately, that's just not true. And that's mostly because, you know, a lot of full-time RVers, us included, are also full-time travelers. And as many of you know, traveling can be pretty stressful. And that's because just so many things can go wrong while you're traveling. And the biggest thing for us is that we don't really know how good that next destination is going to be until we actually get there. You know, you can only learn so many things about the next campsite from looking at reviews online or looking at Google Satellite. You know, you might not be able to actually get in or back to that campsite, or it might be taken, it might not be as level as you had hoped, and even if you're staying at an RV park, it just might not be as good as you had hoped, and the amenities available might be substandard. And just the fact that we're always traveling is stressful in and of itself, because you can never get too comfortable in a single spot. You know, you're always looking for that next campsite, that next place you're going to go. There are many full-time RVers that do stay in one location for entire seasons at a time, or even longer, so you know that this doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. However, we do know that a lot of people get into full-time RVing for the travel aspect. And another thing that can be really stressful about full-time RVing is if something breaks down with your rig and you need to take it into a shop to have it repaired. I mean, we live in our travel trailer, so if we have to take it into a shop to have something fixed, that means they have our entire home there. And while it is true that many repair shops will allow you to still live in your home while they're fixing it, unfortunately, that's not always the case.
Another misconception that we had were that people were going to respect the fact that if we're in a campsite, that means it's occupied and they shouldn't be coming into it. And I know that a lot of you are going to say, but it's public land, rah, 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 rah. You know, it's public land, which means that they have a right to be in that campsite too, but that's actually not true. Dispersed campsites in the National Forest and out on BLM land are first come, first serve. Don't believe me? Look it up on the National Forest's website. That's literally what it says, first come, first serve. So that means that if it's occupied, whoever's staying there, it's their campsite for the duration that they're there. So it's really weird to me that when we're in a campsite, because mostly we stay in dispersed campsites, that someone is going to pull into our campsite and, I don't know, have lunch, do donuts, set up camp. Like, all of these have actually happened to us, and it's really weird, and it's important to try and respect boundaries of other people that are camping near you. When we first hit the road, we felt really weird using our truck basically as a campsite blocker. We would just take up as much of the campsite as we could with our trailer and our truck to make it, you know, convey the message of, hey, this campsite's taken, we don't want anyone to come into it. We've switched from that, and now we do literally park the truck in front of the campsite so that no one else can pull in. And some of you may think that that's rude, but again, just because it's public land doesn't mean that it's cool to come into someone's campsite. Again, first come, first serve means that if you were there first, it's serving you, not the other person that's coming in.
Another misconception about full-time RVing is that we are always staying in epic, awesome places like this site right here, where we're on top of a mountain and our rear picture window on our travel trailer looks right out at this awesome view. But unfortunately, we're not always in awesome places like this. The fact of the matter is that these epic locations just aren't everywhere, and there is a big competition to get to places like this, especially in the national parks. I mean, you've got to place reservations way in advance, sometimes over a year, to get to the coolest campsites in the national parks. The truth is that a lot of places that we stay are just, pretty meh. And, they're maybe just in the middle of a forest or out in the desert with nothing really that remarkable or incredible nearby. And a lot of you do know that watch us, because we show every campsite that we stay in. So, whereas a lot of times when you watch on YouTube or especially on Instagram, a lot of full-time RVers or van lifers will only be showing like the coolest, the most epic places that they're staying to really kind of romanticize the lifestyle. But the fact of the matter is, especially for those that are just staying in like your standard RV park, that not every place is breathtakingly beautiful. But that's okay, because this lifestyle is incredible even without those epic locations. But when we do have the opportunity to stay in an awesome place, we do really cherish those times.
Something we thought was going to be really easy to find on the road was water. And I'm not talking just a dump station that has water fill, I mean purely just water fill. And I can't tell you how many times we have called an RV park that we knew, online it showed that they had a dump station that had drinking water, and we've called them and said, hey, we're not gonna stay there, we just want to use your dump station, or we just want to come in and fill up water. And they've said, oh, we don't allow that. And then we say, you don't even have a fee for that or anything? I can't even pay like a fee for one night of camping there to be able to fill my water? And they say, no, sorry, we just don't do that. And it doesn't make sense to me. Why? If I pay you $5, $10, or even $20 to fill up my RV tank at your campground, but I don't actually stay there, they're not losing any money. They're actually making money off of me just filling my water up. So it's always so surprising to me that places that have drinking water or fresh water won't let you fill up. And this isn't just RV parks. This is, any business you can think of that has a spigot on the side of their place. You can go in and say, hey, I'll pay you $10 if I can use your water spigot outside. And a lot of times they'll say, no, sorry, I can't do that for you. And it's so weird. I don't understand. Why is water so hard to find on the road?
Another misconception is that RVs are quality made, and to anyone that has that misconception, I hate to break it to you, but they're just not. Manufacturers throw these things together literally as fast as possible. And they're also made with extremely lightweight components so that light duty trucks can tow them. And they're also made with very low quality, low cost components so that they can meet incredibly competitive price points. I mean, think about it. If this thing was made with high quality components, it would probably cost twice as much or 3 times as much as it did. And people just wouldn't buy them because it would make RVing too expensive. An unfortunate aspect about full-time RVing is you're going to deal with breakdowns or, things just going wrong with your RV. Because I mean, think about it. These things aren't made to be lived in 24/7 every single day of the year. They're only made to be, taken out for maybe 5 weekends a year at the most. So when they're being used as often as full-time RVers use them, they just wear out that much faster. The good news is that you can mitigate a lot of these issues if you learn how to diagnose and repair RV systems yourself, because they're just not really that complicated. So as long as you have some standard tools on hand and you take time to learn the systems, learn how to maintain your RV and repair the likely things that are going to go wrong, you can repair most minor and moderate issues yourself on site. Unfortunately though, if something major does go wrong, you probably are going to have to take it into a shop. And a nugget of wisdom I can give you as a full-time RVer is when something does break on your RV, don't let it sit. Repair it immediately, no matter how small it is. Because if you don't, then those issues, the things that need to be repaired, is just going to start snowballing. Because while our travel trailer isn't falling apart constantly, we do have something go wrong with it, you know, like once every other month that just needs repaired, a minor thing. Don't let those things snowball though.
And the last misconception we have actually came from our friends Thomas and Stacy with I'm Not Lost, I'm RVing. You guys should go check out their channel if you haven't heard of them before. They're pretty cool people. And the 3 misconceptions that they gave us all had to do with RV parks, so I'm just gonna lump them all together. And to start off with, one of them was if you are staying in an RV park and the sites are paved, it's not necessarily true that they're going to be level. Sure, a lot of them are going to be level, but we've heard from many people that stay in RV parks that they come across paved or gravel sites that are pretty unlevel. Something else they ran into that they were pretty surprised by is some of the RV parks that they have tried to stay in, when they look at their monthly rates, they're actually kind of ridiculously large. For example, they were trying to stay in an RV park in Colorado, and when looking up the monthly rates, it was somewhere between $800 and $1,200 for an RV park spot for a month. That is insane. That's more than our entire house mortgage when we lived in Indiana. That's crazy. And another thing that they've come across is that a lot of people believe that if you're full-time RVing, that means that you're only staying in RV parks, where that's just not the case. As many of you know, if you've watched their channel or our channel a lot, you know that we actually boondock exclusively, despite the fact that we have a travel trailer. And sure, a lot of people with travel trailers, okay, bye. A lot of people with travel trailers or Class A's or Class B's, you know, any kind of an RV, they're probably going to be staying in an RV park a lot of the time, but that doesn't mean that that's the only place that you can stay in an RV. We boondock almost exclusively in some of the most epic locations we've been able to get our little travel trailer to, so we know for a fact that that is a major misconception.
So those have been many of the major misconceptions about full-time RVing that we could come up with for those of you who are looking to get into full-time RVing yourself. Hopefully we've sort of dispelled some of the things that you may have been thinking that full-timing is about, so that you have a more accurate picture of what it's like before you get into it.
Yes, but before we sign off on this video, I want to remind you guys that we have limited time merch. It's just 3 different t-shirts with this doggy's face right here. Check them out. They are below the video player here on YouTube only. And they're only available until the end of September, so get them while they're still available. But that's all for this video. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. Sweetie girl, are you gonna say bye-bye? Sweetie. Good girl. Good puppy.